from Beyond Obedience, and it is time for Fake Fireside Chats with Tracy and Rick. Today's question is brought to us by Colleen and her dog, Brody. Colleen is a wonderful, wonderful client of mine. She came to me last year with Brody, and he was working on some dog reactivity stuff, so she worked really hard with the Beyond Obedience pack, getting him over that. Then she was able to join us last summer for Relationship Remedy, and he rocked that class, something that he wasn't able to do before because of his dog reactivity. But Colleen had a question for me because she had the unfortunate occurrence where she saw her neighbor's dog get hit by a car on the road, and that got her thinking about recall and things that she can do to maybe get Brody better with his recall. And she asked if I had any thoughts on that. And I was like, why, yes, I do, Colleen. I've got a lot of thoughts on it. So many thoughts, actually, that we're going to break this up into 3 different parts. So this will actually run 3 consecutive weeks, this particular topic on Fake Fireside Chats. We're going to break this topic up into 3 different components. The first one is going to be the obedience of recall. We're going to talk about that right now. Our second video will be the beyond obedience of recall. We're going to talk about that. And then I've added, just for your enjoyment, a 3rd section called the slap you in the face reality check of recall. I'm going to add that to the end because I moved away from most of the people that I know. So if this offends people, good luck finding me. All right, so today we're going to talk about the obedience of recall. Okay, Colleen? Now, we already gave Colleen some direction. There's some really great trainers in your area. Sharon Hobson of Hot Diggity Dog Training is out there, and she actually does a recall clinic. So I would highly suggest checking that out the next time she does that. And now Brody would be able to go to a group class because he's so awesome. Okay, but we're going to talk just quickly today about the obedience of recall. The obedience of recall simply meaning that you actually have to make sure that your dog understands the concept, the obedience, the English as a second language of recall. Does he know what the word come means? Okay, now obviously when we start teaching this, if we're talking about a new dog or a young dog or a puppy even, we always start off with everything being in a quiet location with no distractions. Usually have a leash on them for guidance. We have a handful of treats so that we know that the dog loves, and we start off with having the dog come back, and then you give them treats, and then we name it, we say come, and then we give leash guidance, and we feed the dog or the puppy, and we go yay, and we do that numerous times so that we know that, okay, the dog understands what the word means. Now, quite often, people kind of take that aspect and then they think the dog gets it. But what we're missing a lot of the times, especially with our pet dogs, is this idea of proofing the command. And it's a dog trainer term, proofing the command. But essentially all it means is taking the dog out to different locations and doing the exact same thing. It allows the dog to what we call generalize the command so that they don't think that it only applies to them in this area, right? Because believe it or not, dogs are very much situational learners. They will 100% think that this is the behavior that is expected of them when they are here, but it's not necessarily required anywhere else. And you probably already know that if you've ever taken your dog to or your puppy to obedience class, and let's say you're teaching the dog sit, they learn sit there, and then they're in the class and they're doing it, and then your instructor says to you, now make sure you practice this at least 15 to 30 minutes a day for the whole week, and we'll see you next week. And if you're like me, you completely forget to do that because, you know, life. And then you realize, like, holy crap, it's Thursday again, and I have to take my dog to puppy class. And then like a maniac, right before the class, you're outside the door going, sit, sit, sit. Come on, don't make me look stupid, dog. Sit, sit, sit. You know, like me. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying, like me, maybe. okay? So what happens then is then you get back into the class and you go over some stuff and the dog actually does really well and you're like, oh my gosh, my dog is brilliant. But then you take the puppy home and you realize that your dog or your puppy doesn't understand anything anywhere else except in the training arena. And that is simply just because you have not generalized the command. You have just taught them in one area. So you have to get out and you have to teach them that it means the same thing no matter where they are. And then on top of that, because this is such an important command, you want to add lots of different distractions while you have the dog under control. So other dogs, cats, squirrels, any sort of thing, you want to make sure that you practice the same thing and you have control over them. So us trainers have long lines and that sort of thing. We'll take dogs out to dog parks or just parks in general that has squirrels, and we'll do the same thing over and over and over again. The dog sees a squirrel, we'll say come, but we still have the leash on them, so if they don't come, we can make sure that they come, right? So there's that concept of it too. I would say generalizing the command, making sure you practice with lots of distractions while you still have, like, people go too fast and they get rid of their long lines or their leashes way too soon before they've gotten the dog to a point where they can actually trust that the command is generalized under high distraction, okay? And that's where most people go wrong. I would say moving too quickly, getting rid of your long line and your safety is probably where most people go wrong, okay? So that's the obedience of recall. And if you're struggling with it, signing up for a recall clinic, like I mentioned before, is a great idea because the instructors will actually help set up distractions for you and then teach you how to navigate through those distractions. So that would be my obedience answer to recall. Join me next week when we are going to talk about the beyond obedience answer to recall here on Fake Fireside Chats. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.